Here are the 5 books that I read in February. So I read a total of 5 books, and that's actually a lot for me because I am new to reading and I was not expecting to even read like more than 1 book a month just because I'm a slow reader and I'm new to this, so I'm just getting into the reading, book talk, booktube world, and I am excited to post all kinds of book videos on here. Everything from like monthly wrap-ups, which is what this is today, reading vlogs. I love watching reading vlogs and different reading challenges and stuff like that. So if that's anything that you're interested in, if you also love books, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you also follow me on TikTok as well as on Instagram. I've fully gone into the book community online and I really love it. So yeah, my username on all of those platforms are Blondie Girl Books, so you can find me easily on those. So I'm just gonna go through each of these books and kind of explain a little bit more about each of them, as well as like my star rating and everything like that. So yeah, I'll try not to take too long doing this because I don't want this to be a really long video or anything. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first book I read in February was The Memory of Running by Ron McClarty. And I actually thrifted this book from the thrift store, so I really had no idea what this book was about when I got it. I honestly just really liked the cover. I'm very influenced by the covers of books. Yeah, I thought this looked like a fun read, and overall it was, but I honestly did get bored with the story sometimes. Basically, it's about this main character. His name is Smithy. His real name's Smithson, but they call him Smithy. And basically, he's kind of like an old, well, not really old, but he's like a drunk, basically. He's kind of gone downhill throughout his life, and his parents die in a car accident. And he then finds out that his long-lost sister, Bethany, she ran away from home a lot. She had a lot of mental health issues. She ran away from home and they never really found out what happened to her. She also turns up in a morgue in Los Angeles. And Smithy is in Rhode Island. That's where his home is. That's where he's grown up. So he decides to ride his bicycle all the way across the U.S. and go visit his sister Bethany specifically. He wants to visit her body one last time just because it's been so many years. So this book basically talks about his journey as he is riding his bike throughout the different states and the different people he meets and stuff. And it also kind of flashes back and forth between time periods where he's younger and his parents are still alive, when Bethany's still alive, and then it goes back to present day time. So yeah, the main like story itself is really good, and I really liked reading about Bethany specifically. I thought her story was very interesting and the different behaviors that she did. It's probably because I'm a psychology person. I just find that interesting. So yeah, overall it is an okay read. It's just kind of boring, honestly. Sometimes I found myself kind of wishing to like get this book over with. So I rated this book a 3 stars out of 5 stars. I do recommend it though, if anyone finds this at like their local thrift store. That's where I got it. But yeah, that's the first book I read in February. Next we have this book called The Peculiar, and it's by Stephen, I'm not sure how you say that, Bachman. And this is a book I got from a little free library that I have in my town where I live. So yeah, this book also just looked like a really fun, somewhat easy read, which it is. Basically, it's full-on fantasy. If you love fantasy, you'll really like this. So basically, this story follows 2 main characters, and one of them, his name is Bartholomew, and he is considered a changeling in this world, which is basically, he is half human, half fairy. And then the other main character, his name is Mr. Jellyby, and he's like a very high-class, rich, like politician kind of guy. And so basically these 2 characters meet up, and they're both from very different sides of the city. Bartholomew is kind of like in the slums area where people are very poor, and then you have Mr. Jellyby, who is really rich and everything. He lives in a nice house. And so basically both of them end up meeting each other, and they go against this villain who is trying to get rid of all of the changeling children. And he's using them for a particular purpose, which I won't say. But basically, it's just a really adventure-packed, really fast-paced read, and I really, really loved this one. I rated it 4 stars out of 5 stars, and there is a second book of this, and I actually have it. I also found it at the free library, so I'm really excited to read the second book. I believe there's just 2 in this duology, so yeah, that's that book. Definitely really fun, and if you love fantasy, this one's perfect. Okay, this next book. I've been anticipating this book for a while, ever since I have gotten back into reading. I've read the first book in this duology. I'm assuming this is the last book that she's going to come out with, but the first book is called If He Had Been With Me, and it's by Laura Nolan, and she recently just came out with this one. It's If Only I Had Told Her, and this is basically a story that kind of like talks about the first book, but you get to read different perspectives on what happened in the first book. So this is definitely a romance. I'm not really into romance, but I love these books so much. Even though they're super sad, they were really, really good. It basically follows, the first book follows these 2 characters, Finny and Autumn, and they've been childhood best friends for like their whole lives. And they eventually start liking each other, but they don't want to admit it. And so it follows their love story, and it's really, really sweet and cute. The first book I gave a 5 star just because it was so good. And this second book was really, really good too, and I liked the different perspectives, but I didn't really like it as much as the first one. It was still super good though, so I rated this a 4 stars out of 5 stars. I'm so excited that I have this one. So now I can have it on my bookshelf next to the first one. Okay, this 4th book that we have is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. This is my first ever book from her. She's a really popular author. I've seen lots of people talk about this book on like TikTok and Instagram, and so I just had to get it to see if I liked it, and I definitely did. I rated this 5 stars for sure. It's a psychological thriller, which is about this main character. Her name is Millie, and she is an ex-convict, and she's currently living in her car, and so she needs a job. So she decides to go to the Winchester's house. They're very rich, and they live in a huge house, and she becomes their housemaid. The Winchesters are definitely different than who they say they are. So that's all I'll say. There's just a lot of plot twists and really like crazy things that happen. And so I love this book so much. I want to read the second one. And I'm also tempted now to read like every Freida McFadden book that there is because I just love this one so much. And personally, my favorite genres are fantasy and then like thriller and horror books. So I'm really, really excited to read more from her. This is a really good book if you're into that type of stuff. Okay, and then the 5th book, the last one that I read in February, was The 57 Bus. I thrifted this as well. I get a lot of my books from like the thrift store, or I find them at little free libraries, or I will get a lot of them from Walmart too. But this one is by Dashka Slater, and it's actually a true story, which I thought was pretty neat because I don't really read a lot of like nonfiction, true crime type of books. So basically this book is about 2 characters again, Sasha and Richard. The back kind of talks about each one. But basically both of them are from very different parts of society, kind of like the peculiar one. And they end up meeting each other, well, meeting kind of. They both ride the same bus, and it's in Oakland, California, I believe. And so one day they both end up on the same bus, and Richard decides to pull a prank on Sasha because Sasha is wearing a skirt, and Sasha identifies as agender, so neither male or female. And so on the outside, a lot of people view Sasha as a boy, but Sasha likes to wear dresses and skirts and things like that. So Richard is with his friends on this bus, and they see this man wearing a skirt. And so they decide that it would be funny to light Sasha's skirt on fire. And so basically Sasha gets burned really bad and has a lot of 3rd-degree burns. and is in the hospital. Richard is put in jail, and basically they are trying to figure out whether or not to sentence him to, I think, like life in prison. Like, technically he's a juvenile, but they're trying to figure out whether to treat this case as like a juvenile type of thing, or if he should be put into adult prison. So it talks a lot about like the criminal justice system, as well as like gender and discrimination. So there's a lot of really good topics in this book. I definitely did not know that it was going to be about any of this when I first went into it. I like to go into a lot of my books blind, so it was surprisingly good, and I thought it had a lot of good topics. And so it basically covers both Richard's and Sasha's experience from this one incident and how it's changed both of them. So yeah, I do think it's a good story. Definitely, I think a good read. I feel like anyone who reads this would get something out of it. So yes, I gave this book 4 stars out of 5 stars, I believe. Actually, no, I think I gave this 3 stars. I'd have to check, but yeah, so I thought this was a good book. Just kind of like average. I mean, it's not like, it didn't like completely blow me away like The Housemaid or If Only I Had Told Her, but still a really, really good book. And I like the cover of this as well, because like I said, I'm influenced by the covers, and I definitely like books with cool covers on them. So yeah. Okay, so that's gonna do it for my February wrap up for 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am looking forward to doing more monthly reading wrap ups in the future. Recently, I just finished my first book of March, and that is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. It's the first book. That's the only book I have personally in the series, but I want to like reread the whole series again. So yes, I'll be posting lots of like reviews and stuff on TikTok. If you want to follow me on there, again, you can. If you liked this video, make sure you like it and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!